Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Victory Road review for Impact from last night. That's the 3rd of October. Can't believe we're in October already. Saw Christmas commercials today. Anyway, so Impact returned last night on their Impact Plus service. And the opening video is just a recap of the ongoing feud between Eric Young and Eddie Edwards. Edwards talks about his injured legs at the hands of Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan from the last Impact. Rascals and Triple XL, AC Romano, and Larry D are out. My stream was a little choppy for this particular match. Overall, I didn't really care for this show very much. It felt like it was there because it was a show they promised, not because it really did a heck of a lot. Anyway, Wentz and Romano start the match, and obviously Wentz uses his speed advantage, hit and move, speed and distance. Xavier lands a dive to Romano. Romano catches him on the second one and slams him on top of Xavier eventually. Larry D dominates the next part of the match. Xavier tries to make a comeback, can't get what he needs. Stopped with a power bomb and a clothesline. Xavier does manage to kick out and gets a hot tag. Wentz comes in, series of strikes on Larry D. Hits a penalty kick and a moonsault for near fall. Desmond joins Wentz and a series of double team strikes. Triple XL gets rid of Wentz, allowing them to double team Xavier. They go for a double splash. Romano Senton and Larry D. Plancha for a near fall. Wentz breaks this up. Wentz sent Romano to the floor. And then hits a pescado. In ring, Xavier catches D with a moonsault kick and a final flash for the win. Not a bad opener, but honestly, if you're going to have super heavyweight guys, then have super heavyweight guys they can work with. I find it really unbelievable when there's such a size discrepancy in a team. And there's a reason it worked for like the Rockers and the Twin Towers. And the reason is their offense was always believable and they broke them down. And most of the time they lost. I didn't find this believable. Anyway, Brian Myers defeats Tommy Dreamer up next. Myers goes to work on Dreamer's back early, suplexes and submission attempts. Dreamer tries a couple near falls, doesn't get what he wants. Eventually, cuts Myers off with a jump clothesline from the apron to the floor. Tommy Dreamer, after 30 years, should not be doing this. Dreamer makes a comeback with strikes and a bionic elbow. Hits the sky high, and it doesn't look good. He actually says it worked for D'Lo for years. End comes when Dreamer goes to the top rope. Myers cuts him off. Hits a lariat for the win. Myers is being wasted in things with Dreamer. I'd actually be pushing Myers leading a faction of guys who have had bad luck in wrestling other places, and they're trying to make it good on Impact. Anyway, Moose approaches Scott D'Amore asking why he had been given a match. He says he needed to focus on EC3 and the TNA World Championship. D'Amore tells Moose that he hadn't wrestled in a long time, and he needs to focus on Trey Miguel instead. Another match I'm not particularly a fan of up next, as Willie Mack defeated X Division champion Rohit Raju via countout. Basic wrestling to start. Counters and reversals. Mack ends up hitting some lucha arm drags and a Rana or two. Then Raju hits the floor, regains his footing. Mack goes for a stunner, and Raju cuts him off. Mack comes close to making the ropes, and Raju rolls him back into the center of the ring. Mack hits some power moves, but gets nailed with a jumping running knee and a cannonball for another near fall. Mac dodges a foot stomp, caught Rahet with a pop-up elbow and an exploder, but that gets kicked out of. Then they start nailing each other. Rahit Raju uses a drop to the floor, takes a count out, lost. I don't get Willie Mack's appeal. I get Rahit Raju. At least they're trying somebody new, but I do not get Willie Mack as his opponent. Gia Miller interviews Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan about their attack on Eddie Edwards. Callihan said that after losing the shot at the tag titles, Shamrock needed to be reminded why he is dangerous. And Callihan said that he's there to support Shamrock, but it's not his fight to fight. Then another match that I was not a fan of, Tenille Dashwood with Caleb with a K defeats Jordana Grace. Jordana Grace was on such a roll, and they have her dropped to somebody who, honestly, why? Like, what is this? It's a cheap ripoff of an 80s gimmick with somebody who is average in the ring. I don't get it. Anyway, back and forth. They go to the outside, and they run each other into guardrails and steps. Dashwood stops to take photos and almost gets herself counted out in the process. Gets back in the ring just in time, regains control. Dashwood goes for submissions on Grace, and she's not able to capitalize. And Dashwood is fast enough to catch Jordana Grace with a sliding elbow. Grace hits close distance lariats. Dashwood blocks a third one of those and hits a butterfly suplex for near fall. Grace blocks a suplex and blocks the spotlight. Hit a back elbow. Dashwood is into the corner and then goes for a Vader bomb. Grace locks on a sleeper. Caleb distracts the ref, and the referee doesn't see the visual tap out. Grace goes for the Grace driver. Dashwood small packaged her for near fall. Dashwood hits the spotlight kick to get the win. A lot of people online see this as a good match. I see so much more talented people in the division. Gia Miller interviews Motor City Machine Guns about defending their tag team titles in a 4-way at Bound for Glory. Sabin says that they were happy to be able to be done with all the teams at the same time and move on. What are they moving on to if they beat 4 teams? Another match that's a throwaway. Heath and Rhino defeats Reno Scum, Luster the Legend, and Adam Thornstone. Rhino and Luster starts off. They brawl. Thornstone tag in, and he gets the better of the exchange. Arm drags, takedowns, and going after the shoulder of Rhino. Rhino and Heath keep tagging until they get Luster the Legend hits a lariat on Heath behind the referee's back, and then later, after quite a beatdown, Heath caught Thornstone with a desperation kick and tagged Rhino. He comes in hitting everybody in sight, hits a belly-to-belly suplex for a near fall. Thornstone goes to the floor, but as he goes for a clothesline on Luster, they take each other out, and Heath tags back in. He's overtaken by both members, and then they go for their finisher. Rhino's there, gores Luster, Thornstone superkick Rhino, and Heath grabs him from behind with the wake-up call for the win. Heath did look bad, but this, he's not signed thing, and putting him in a throwaway tag team just doesn't make sense to me. Backstage, Scott D'Amore tells Heath and Rhino that he was impressed with them. He told Heath to show up on Tuesday, and he could talk a contract then. Why would you give someone who doesn't have a contract a match on the program anyway? Trey Miguel defeats Moose. Moose starts out aggressive. Miguel's very quick. Moose blocks a Rana and dumps Miguel with a single chop. Moose has his mind anywhere but in the match, and Miguel hits several strikes, running drop kicks. Moose gets his hands on Miguel and locks him and tosses him around when his mind is on the match. Moose, however, is calling out EC3 for the majority of the match. Eventually, Moose goes for the ripcord elbow. Miguel managed to get out of the way of this. He landed a good number of kicks and they hit a bunch. Miguel hits a bunch of dives. Moose is still able to block at least one of the dives. Miguel goes for moonsault from the apron, and Moose does catch him and literally save his life here. Very dangerous spot. I wish guys would stop doing moves they don't need to do because nobody cares. Moonsaults and flippy things are nice when you can do them. If you're doing too many of them, you're eventually going to get hurt, and then you can't make money to support your family. Stop being stupid. Anyway, so Moose drops him on the apron. Moose sets up the lights out, and EC3's logo appears on the screen. Miguel rolls him up and gets a win. Moose starts running to the production truck, and then EC3 jumps him from behind and told him TNA belt dies on Tuesday. A, this is too long. B, it's a waste of Moose. C, no one cares about the TNA name, and if they did, why not bring it back and get rid of the whole knockout, the whole Impact thing? Make up your mind, have one brand, and stick to it. Anyway, Josh Alexander with Ethan Page defeats Ace Austin with Madman Fulton, Alex Shelley with Chris Sabin, and Carl Anderson with Doc Gallows in a four-way. I hate three-ways, four-ways, and all of these things. I remember when wrestling was one-on-one, maybe a tag match, maybe a six-man here and there. These multi-person matches just scream, we're bad bookers, and we want to put everyone on the show because we're all friends. Anyway, Anderson and Shelley start out with Shelley frustrating him. Anderson tags in Austin, and Austin gets out-wrestled by Shelley until Austin regains speed advantage, hits some strikes. Shelley's still standing after a drop kick to his face. Austin catches Shelley with an enziguri, doesn't follow through, and then Shelley manages to fall into the hands of Fulton, who chokeslams on the apron. Ouch. Austin works over Shelley's hand, and they do the card trick thing where they basically do kind of the paper cut sort of thing, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. And he stomps on the hand over and over. He goes for Phoenix Splash, but Shelley dodges and hits a Dragon Suplex. Alexander and Anderson tag in. Anderson gets the better of that exchange, hits a senton on Alexander, and a cutter on Austin, and a spinebuster on Alexander for near fall. Alexander gets Anderson in a fireman's carry, accidentally knocks out the referee. This leads to Gallows, Fulton, Sabin, and Page all taking each other out in the ring. If you're going to do that, why don't you just give them matches on this show? Oh, yeah, it's because the show's already running long, because you're not booking for quality, you're booking for quantity. Fulton is going to toss Austin kind of like a rag doll, but the referee recovers and sends everyone to the back. Match returns. Tower of Doom spot with Alexander on top. Shelley follows with a frog splash and a pin attempt. Anderson broke it up. Austin hits the knee to Anderson and a spinning back heel to Shelley. Springboard disaster kick on Alexander. Anderson was there and hits a gun stun. Shelley hits a slice spread on Anderson, and Alexander hit a double underhook driver on Shelley to finally get the win. A lot of people like this. If you like high spots for the sake of high spots with very little story, this is cool. If you like matches with guys you enjoy, again with little story, this is cool. If you like things that advance storylines, not so cool. Backstage, Dreamer approached Myers, thanks him for the match. Myers didn't shake his hand and says that he's disappointed he had to fight a sad old man and not the innovator of violence. Dreamer said maybe he'll see him on Tuesday. Knockouts champion Deanna Purrazzo with Kimberly defeats Susie with Kylie Ray. Purrazzo starts strong and manhandles Susie. She's not taking her seriously. Susie pushes her back in the corner, and Susie hits a flurry of schoolgirls roll-ups, and Purrazzo's backing down with her. Susie hits a bulldog for near fall. Purrazzo leaves the ring, regains her composure. Susie follows her to the outside, hits a tope on her, and Lee. Lee stops Susie from going back to the top, allowing Purrazzo to toss her and get her back on the attack. A little bit later, Susie gets the advantage, goes to the top with a crossbody. Lee distracted the referee. Ray takes out Lee, but it's too late. Purrazzo catches her with a kick, a knee lift, leg sweep, and a Fujiwara armbar. Susie escapes, hits a palm strike, and goes for the panic switch. Purrazzo escapes that. Purrazzo snaps her arm with the Pentagon armbar, followed with Fujiwara armbar, and gets a verbal submission out of this. This was really, really good. This was enjoyable, and I actually wish they'd given this maybe 5 more minutes and cut something earlier in the show. Anyway, after the match, Lee and Purrazzo jumped Ray and stomped on her. They pulmonized Susie's arm and made Ray watch, and they go for the armbar again. Then we go to the world title match, which I think is the last match of the evening. Yes. So they start, Eddie Edwards and Eric Young in your world title match. They start brawling from the start. They go to the outside. They hit each other with chops, send each other into guardrails, headbutts, and a bunch more. Strike-based offense. Young goes in the ring, and Edwards sends him back outside, so they're basically doing a dance. Edwards hits a pescado. Young is busted up right under the eye. Looks pretty nasty. Edwards goes for the tiger suplex on the ramp. Young counters and tosses him over his head. They use the ring post for a bit. They get in the ring. Young gains control and goes after the neck of Eddie Edwards. And Edwards hits a Boston knee party. Young manages to block it and doesn't get all he wants with it. Edwards scores a backpack, tries a backpack stunner, but Young blocks that, and Edwards hits an ugly-looking top rope Blue Thunder bomb for a near fall that looked really uncomfortable. Edwards hits his knee on the canvas, and Young locks on the figure 4. Edwards' shoe comes off, and Edwards hits the Boston knee party for a near fall, and Young gets the ropes again. Edwards goes for the Emerald Fusion, but his knee buckles, and Young's been working over it for quite a while. He hits a dropkick, a pile driver, and locked on a knee bar for the submission win. Really good match. Eddie Edwards is not only a friend of mine from his indie days, but probably one of the better guys to never get to a larger company. I really would like to see him get an opportunity before he retires with a larger company. Anyway, definitely worth going out of your way to watch this one match. And Rich Swann comes down to save Young. But overall, like, it's a 2-match show. The women's title match and the main event are worth watching. Everything else you could skip and really not miss much. Anyway, hope you find this useful. We will be back with the NXT review also, and some more of the World Class review from 1987. We'll be back.